Welcome, bonjour, allo, good day, zdravo, hola.
Welcome to the Yoga Health Coaching Podcast, a global collaborative conversation about our collective evolution.
We're into the habits for you and the rest of humanity to thrive. You'll hear what's working and what's not on our journeys as coaches, guiding peeps into the habits of thrive. Based on Ayurveda, based on the wisdom of yogis and yoginis, intertwined with the reality of modern life.
We'll also rap about our wellness coaching careers. We'll bring in outside experts to guide our own quests in our personal and pro thriver journeys. Join us by the Vitamix. We might get loud. We will definitely get juicy. Are you a wellness pro looking to switch your business model from one-to-one to a tribe? Register today for a free webinar with Kate Stillman, How to Build a Tribe Around Your Wellness Career. Go to yogahealthcoaching.com/tribe. Take your career to the next level today. Go to yogahealthcoaching.com/tribe.
We're live on Facebook. I'm here with Kelly Gardner. Many of you who've been to a retreat know that Kelly is way too much fun, and I missed her greatly in Salt Lake. But she's coming to Mexico. Yippee! YourRadiantSoul.com is where you can find Kelly Gardner's website. We should do a little like improv stuff here because she does these great voices and it's really quite impressive. But that's not actually why we're here. We're here to talk about all these different certifications that you have and how to put them to work for you next.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Give everyone just like a little bit of background. So you're in yoga health coaching. You've been here for a while. Before then, you did a lot of tons of other stuff. So get into all that.
Yeah. I'm certifiable.
You're very certified.
I'm a licensed mental health therapist in Tennessee and Mississippi. So actually right now I'm in my clinical practice office. I do outpatient yoga therapy. I do outpatient mental health therapy, but I'm also a yoga therapist. So I do outpatient yoga therapy as well. And I can bill insurance because I'm licensed. So that's cool.
Bam.
I have, prior Ayurvedic training before YHC. I'm also a yoga teacher trainer. I work for a company called Yoga Fit, and I certify yoga instructors, but mainly I'm certifying them in these specialty trainings. So yoga for mental health issues, yoga for addiction, yoga for depression and anxiety, yoga for trauma release, that kind of thing.
And is that all stuff that, there it is that all stuff that you created, or is that curriculum that other people created that you teach? Or
I created one course for my company, but a lot of it is stuff that I did not create. I just took it and made it awesome.
Okay.
Other people do that too. Yeah.
And so now you have your annual pass.
I haven't launched the annual pass yet. I'm in the third round right now of my 12-week course.
Okay.
And I am perfecting the annual pass, which will launch in January.
Okay. And you were telling me that according to Wealth Dynamics, you're a mechanic. So that means that you like to tinker with stuff and make sure it works.
I am for sure a mechanic. My brain thinks in how can this be more efficient? How can this work better? I'm constantly analyzing everything, which can be bad. But yeah, so I'm very comfortable taking on something, taking it apart, making it my own, making it great, and then making it work for me. Like I mentioned, I did write one yoga teacher training module for the company that I teach for, but it took me a year because I needed it perfect, right? So I'd love to be able to offer other courses, but how do I do that?
Yeah.
It seems overwhelming.
So, part of my job is to point out the obvious.
Please do.
So what you really, in my opinion, and what is that, IMHO in text language?
Right.
Except for I'm not really humble. So just in my opinion, all I would do is like mix it all into an annual pass and start selling annual passes. Like that's the easiest, most efficient way. You guys listening are like, why does she always say the same thing? And why do we always come at her with like thinking that we're the exception to the rule and that we have a different question? And then she says the same thing.
Yeah. You probably hope for a new question.
I sometimes do. I'm like, give me a hard one, you guys. Like, I'm ready for the hard ones. So the reason is the reason is this is like anything creators and mechanics and even star types, like we generally can be incredibly prolific in creating stuff. And like you just said, like a mechanic creating stuff is going to take 10 times longer than just like a creator creating stuff, because a creator creating stuff is going to go for usually quantity over quality, just because they're naturally more, what they all share is visionary. Usually they're usually aimed towards much more towards the future than the past, which is why you like to keep making things better for the future, for the next one, for the next one, for the next one. Not, and people that don't have that, they're like, it's good enough. I made it 5 years ago. It's fine, and that's like looking back instead of looking forward. So, just getting that that you have an eye for what works and that your vision goes forward is that's an awesome, just natural attribute to leverage. And you brought that up in the beginning of like, how do I leverage who I am for bringing all of these things together into all the mental health therapists, yoga, Ayurveda, YHC, and that all of these are like in the coaching and training realm. Like the coaching and training is not new to you. You're good at it. You know how to teach people how to do things.
And really, I'm kind of a coach as a therapist. I focus a lot more on, okay, where can we go from here, rather than let's look at what's wrong.
Yeah,
so that's pretty natural in my therapy role as well.
That's awesome. And so what you want to look at then is you want to like, how do you put your mechanic to work? And what does that actually look like? Now, what I want to say about courses, the reason that I want everyone selling annual passes in here is because like most people here want to have a good lifestyle. You don't want to like just work all the freaking time and optimize campaigns for click-through rates for online sales. Like having more to offer means having more to market. So each course needs its own funnel. Usually like it needs its own, how do you get people into the course? So more is not better. And the way that I do it is I look all the time, like the thing that quote unquote keeps me up at night is the question, like, can I axe 50% of my courses? Because I could just sell one course and make 3 times as much money, is my guess, with more or less the same team. Because it's so complex to run so many different things. There's so much complexity behind the marketing and enrollment of it, and then the delivery of it. And so unless you want like a really big team, more is not better. More is, I'm going to write this in red just for emphasis.
More is just more.
More equals worse.
Okay.
Yeah, more is worse. And even, with for those who are like you at the Mexico 2018 event, here's my tree, right? And it's like when you prune a tree, you generally excise a limb. You don't just like, as I remember Ellie, because remember I did this thing and I was like, you got to cut stuff back. And she's like, that's not how you prune, Kate. And I was like, oh, you're so right. She so called me out. And it was great because that really stayed with me. It's like what you do is to prune, you go like that. You take off limbs. For most of us, that's actually taking off courses. Isn't that crazy? So I just saved you like lifetime, like a decade of unnecessary labor.
Didn't you though? You just gave me more time to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's rolling everything I already have into my annual pass.
She got it.
And getting everybody to sign up for that. Everybody. Because why wouldn't
everybody
you have everything you need?
Because that's just it. Right. And this is what a funnel is like all these people, they come in and you're like, I spit out like this one thing. And like these people are what? So this is like your A and this is your B. So actually I'm going to grab this little part and bring it over there. So what is someone, if you roll everything together,
and I can meet everybody's needs. It doesn't matter what their issue is, what they're coming in to find. I'm like, oh yeah, I got you. Oh yeah, I got you.
Oh my gosh, would you turn up the Southern accent? I love it. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
She's gotcha. So what's the A to B? What's their before and after?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Yeah, like before they're on your bus for a year and then after they're on a bus, who are they and how are they different?
Gosh, hopefully when they get to B, they've learned how to take care of themselves and streamline their habits so that they can reach their goals and be who they want to be.
Yeah, that's right, people. And what are they coming to you with?
Any number of things. It could be a physical issue. It could be an emotional issue. It could be a relationship issue. It could be a self-care issue.
Yeah. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of all those. So give me an example of a body issue.
I want to lose 10 pounds.
Okay.
And I have pain because I'm overweight. So maybe it'd probably be I want to lose more like 20 pounds and I have pain because I'm overweight.
Okay. What's another one?
Another body issue or another issue in general?
No, but let's stay with body. Just all this stuff. If you look back and you're like, what are the ones that I'm going to now try to write legibly while you think I'm giving you think.
Autoimmune issues are always huge.
Yep.
So there's always somebody who says, well, I have this autoimmune disorder. I have all this inflammation in my body. I have digestive issues. That's another big one.
Okay. Now let's go to emotional because you're a mental health therapist.
I am.
So let's get into because this is your market differentiator, if you will. Like that's to me your big one. Like that's the big certification difference between you and me. I don't got that one, and we have a lot of crossover in the ones that we do have.
You do that work in a lot of ways. I do just say, hey, I have a license.
Right. Yeah, I'm licensed. Yeah, from the school that's down the street.
I can market myself as licensed. The biggest mental health issue that I see everywhere is anxiety. Everybody's got anxiety. And the good thing about anxious people is that they will show up for the tips you're going to give them. So, hey, tell me how to fix my anxiety and I will be there.
Yeah.
Of course, I also deal with a lot of people with depression, but the depressed people are too depressed to show up.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily want to talk to them.
Well, I mean, I would love to talk to them, but I'm not necessarily going to market to them because they're not gonna use that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a motivation.
Right.
Factor. Yeah.
Fair enough. So if you've got that, I would just stick with anxiety. And what are some other things that go with anxiety?
Anger comes along with anxiety a lot, and anxiety comes as a byproduct of trauma. And one of the things that I teach in trauma sensitive yoga is that everybody has trauma. Bad things have happened to everybody. Yeah. So inability to cope is another thing that comes along with that. Easily overwhelmed, right? Their nervous system is in
hold on.
overdrive.
Right. Well, actually, that's good. That was really good marketing language. So say that one again. What's an overdrive?
Their nervous system is in overdrive, so they can't cope.
Yeah. So even like, is your nervous system in overdrive? This is a really good title of a blog post for you, or a marketing funnel, or whatever, a landing page, and then they can do the check boxes and they can send in the quiz, and then they can schedule a strategy session with you.
I love it.
Love it. Thanks. So this is your market differentiator.
Okay.
Is that, when you say everyone's experienced trauma, and I'm like, yeah, so what? Because like I haven't experienced that much. But I'm sure if we dug like 5 layers deep, we'd find it all too.
Everybody's been through something that was a major shock to their nervous system.
Oh my gosh.
Their course.
I was having this Me Too conversation with a friend the other night who was here, and she told me like just the high school horror story. Like, think of the worst high school horror story, or not the worst, but like not like the worst of the worst, but like the worst.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that. And now she's finally dealing with her stuff at 45. And I would say like, that's your target client. Like, she's your target client, and you can help her in a way I can't.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you guys, and this is what you want to realize is it's like we're not all trying to be the same.
Yeah.
We're trying to realize like exactly in our path so far how we can design this experience, this best A to B, this best before after experience in 1 year. Or even, it was interesting at the retreat, one of the experienced members who sold quite a few da-da-da-das and has done really well financially in the yoga health coaching in terms of like ROI on it. And we really looked at what she should be offering, and it was 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people that have a lot of experience, when you're actually looking at like how long it takes, it might be 2 years. And that's what I've learned with Awake Living. It's what I've learned with yoga health coaching, which is why we're now selling them as 2-year experiences. So I'm not saying you should, because you're just at that 10 weeks phase and having people do the same thing. But when you really look at your annual pass and you get that, you know, how, and I think an annual is great for you. Like really looking at what are the before and afters with these deep-seated traumas that are still generating anxiety, and the anxiety is leading to, usually anxiety actually leads to weight gain over time, because it affects sleep, which affects metabolism, and the whole physiology gets really confused with this kind of overdrive, right?
Everything gets out of whack. Yeah.
Everything gets out of whack, and it gets worse over time, not better.
Right.
I was at the nursery yesterday, and they're having a big sale on perennials and shrubs and trees. And so I was like, like 75% off perennials. And perennials, I always find it's like better to plant right now in the fall than it is in the spring, because then spring comes and like they're already in, they're like totally adjusted. They've been home for 6 months, and although not much has been going on, right? And so I say to the lady, the really sweet lady who's my checkout lady, whose great grandmother grew up like a quarter mile from where I live, and she still lives in that little section called Greenville. And I was saying something about like, I need to keep all the tags of the plants, because in case I want to remember, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to remember anything. I'm busy life. And she goes, everyone has a busy life. And I'm thinking, like, here's this woman in her 60s working at the nursery who probably inherited land right there. Like, is she saying everyone's busy? You know what I mean? Because like, she's like the most grounded, like 5 generations, one piece of land, works in a lovely environment. But the idea is that if she's saying it, like everybody's encountering
it. Everybody's experiencing it. Yeah. And showing it.
So then when you look at like, I got them for a year.
That sounds so nice to me. I'm running my 3rd round right now. I'm doing 12-week courses, and I have multiple people who have done all 3 rounds.
Great.
So now when I talk about a year-long course, they're like, okay, awesome. Let's do a year. Just tell me what
we're doing. Yeah. And I think that's really where it gets super, super fun, is where you start to think like creatively, then you can get your mechanic out. But what I want you to do with your mechanic, because that was a big part of your question, was, as if this is my wealth dynamic. Mm-hmm. And for those listening not familiar, Wealth Dynamics is a personality quiz, wealthdynamics.com. There's links in your YHC stuff, but you can just Google it, and it's an expensive test. I think it's like $100.
It's worth it though.
It's worth it, right?
It answered so many questions for me. For a long time, I was like, what's wrong with me that I can't just like make up a course or make up whatever I want? And then when I took this test, I was like, oh, that's why, because I'm Sam Walton. Awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. I'm Walt Disney. Nice to meet you, Sam.
Let's work together.
Let's work together. Yeah, right. And that's how it always works is you find your counterparts because you realize that, like, if I didn't have a mechanic, we'd be messed up. And so on, right? And there's that, if you didn't have me right now playing the role of the visionary, helping you see what to
It'll be
create,
floundering. Yeah.
it's over, right? You're like, I don't know where to tinker.
I don't even know where to start.
So what I want you to do is I want you to re-listen to the annual, I believe it's like what should be in my annual pass in YHC.
Okay.
And the reason is there's going to be ideas in there for how you would want to design it. But that's all you're really thinking about is what would they do the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it could build. I love it. I love it. That makes so much sense. I was listening to your little intro to Body Thrive, and you're like, okay, it's quarterly now. This is what we're going to do in the first quarter, and then you get used to it, and then okay, all right. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Sweet. And I'm gonna, if you give me a minute, I'll show you in Smartsheets how I organized it, how I organized Body Thrive into a year, and because it helps to sometimes see people's tools behind the scene.
Absolutely. Okay. It's so interesting. When you said, okay, you just need to put this all in an annual pass, I was kind of like, really? Same thing. But now that we're talking about it, I'm super excited to streamline it into one thing. I can put everything I have into one course, like you were saying. I don't have to then sell multiple courses. It makes so much sense.
She says the light.
You're a genius, Kate.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Gardner. All right. So onboarding, right? This is what happens before Q1 starts.
Nice.
Then Q1. And we're just going through, these are all the lessons they get. It's a lot. I'm doing way too much, you guys.
This is a neat one lesson a week thing you've got here.
Oh yeah. Smart Sheets. Love Smart Sheets. This is Q2, which is work it. Right. And so they're going deeper because my ace in my back pocket is making Ayurveda practical and easy and applicable. They learn more and more. By the time Q3 live it, you'll see there's more Ayurveda. I'd already created all this stuff. Like you've already created a lot of stuff in your life. I just plugged it in.
It makes so much sense. 5
koshas. See, like we're in nourishing meditation, which is a Ayurvedic meditation. We're in Agni types, Ayurveda. I just wanted you guys to see how they get more Ayurveda.
Yeah.
And then ancestral rhythm. By the time we get to Q4, we're going to have even more yoga, which is also a bit of my background is in yoga philosophy. So we're going to see yoga and Ayurveda, and it's just progressive. Six tastes in Ayurveda. It's stuff I had already made, I just plugged in. And then what I would look at is, and I will stop share and go to a new share. What I would do is look at retreats or meetups or live events.
I agree. I would love to do that. And that's an overwhelming thing to me too. I'm like, where do I even start? I have no idea. How do you do a retreat? How do you call a place and say, hey, I want to do a retreat?
Yeah. Well, and how do you do it so you know people are gonna come? I just lost my pages. I'm sorry. We were in YHC Master. Oh, I must have had another tab open. Sorry. Let me find myself. So let me ask this. Are you, and this is funny because we haven't even started here, but are you online? Are you offering this more like Zoom calls or more in person?
Yeah, it's online.
Okay. And where are your people from?
All over. So I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I have people right now in my course in Michigan, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Florida. I mean, like all over.
This is my U.S. chart. What a bad United States of America. Okay, but they're mostly East Coast, so you wouldn't be doing it in L.A. You wouldn't be taking people to San Francisco. You do something more in this region.
Okay.
Is Memphis cool? Memphis is cool, right? Isn't Memphis like all hip now?
Cool place to go?
Yeah.
Or like temperature-wise?
No, cool place to go.
It's a cool place to go for a weekend.
Great.
I wouldn't recommend that you move to Memphis, but
no, I'm not going to move to Memphis, but I might go for a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place for a weekend. Absolutely.
Okay. So then I just would look at that.
Make them come to me.
Yeah. Make them come to you.
I can do that.
Yeah. And you could build it into your pass. I do it a little different where I have an extra charge for it, partially because I have a lot of bandwidth to be able to do that. I would say in the beginning, if you just want people to come, just include it.
Okay.
And if they can bring a friend, then it's easier to enroll the next group. We always find like when anyone from Living Ayurveda goes to a yoga healer event, they become a yoga health coach because they're surrounded by yoga health coaches. And they're like, I want some of that action.
So if they come as the friend, then they're going to want to do the annual course.
Yeah. Bring a friend to Memphis.
I can only assume that it took you years to figure all this stuff out. So
Oh
I
my
just want to
gosh.
thank you for telling me all of this, like not years from now.
Yeah. It's not fun to learn this stuff on your own because honestly, most people don't. I am such a obstinate SOB.
Yeah.
And most people give up because it's hard to figure this out.
Well, I appreciate your hard work.
Thanks.
Figuring it all out for me. Yeah.
Persistence. And that's, and it's really where when you're looking at like how simple can the system be? Like that's your question for your mechanic, really. Because your mechanic can overcomplicate things. So how simple can it be?
The first time I heard you ask that question, I like wrote it on this huge mirror on my wall because it was like, oh my gosh. You mean I can make it simple? Duh.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Awesome. Great. So I'm going to just say, how simple can it be to fill and operate my annual pass experience?
I'm super excited now about this.
Oh, me too. I'm excited for your members. It's really important when things get hard to be excited for your future members. It really keeps me going, because it's easy to get so stuck in the details you forget why you're doing something. And so if you can keep coming back to you're helping these people who are anxious, who've experienced trauma, like on the B, and you really want to fill this out. Like, what's the B side of trauma of when they've actually digested their emotional and their trauma? Like, how does their life change?
Man, it changes in every way because they finally feel safe in their own bodies. They feel calm enough to respond to their lives instead of reacting. It changes all their relationships. They can, actually change their trajectory and become who they want to become instead of being stuck where they were.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's everything.
Right.
It's all the things.
It's all the things. So that A to B is different than A to C. And I really like James Clear's work and his brand new book. I just got the hot off the press, Atomic Habits. And he shows this, this image. Oh man, I just found it really fast. Where what happens with 1% improvement over time, it turns into 37% improvement a year. That's our A to B. A to C is what happens when you don't, and you just keep doing what you're doing, which is what most people do. And it doesn't stay. It's not a flat line. It goes down. People get worse over time who aren't improving. There is no neutral, it seems like, too, because of degeneration.
There's either growth or there's deterioration.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was just having a little fight with, not in the most jovial way, with Sounds True Publishing, because they wanted to take the word degenerate out of Body Thrive. And I was like, I'm at the end of I'm done with Body Thrive. I've already edited the thing like 25,000 times because we published it in 2015, right? But now it's coming out again. So we have to do the whole thing.
No, just publish it. Don't do anything to it. Just publish it.
And they're like, we looked up degenerate, and it means to change. It means like a deterioration of the genus, or to move away from the genus. So it's no longer identified in the same genus. So we have like species and genus, right? And I'm like, yes, that's right.
That's what I meant.
like the genes have degenerated to the point where they are not recognizable as the same kind of thing. And sometimes when we go into places or see people that are really ill, you're like, they don't look like humans. Like they don't
absolutely
look like a different.
Yeah, it will change your genes. And not only will it truly age you faster, but you pass that down up to 3 generations after you, the change in the genes.
So that you got to talk about this stuff. You got to talk about passing on anxiety to your kids, because that's all an A, right? And so when you actually, your next, I'm going to give you homework now.
Do it.
Your next stuff is really to get your A to B in detail and in messaging. So messaging is like, how do people hear it? So there's what we're saying, but how do people hear it? And often this is where you want to speak in the language of your people, of your A's.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So you really want to explain all that stuff, like in detail that they can totally understand and engage with.
It makes sense.
So once you got that down, then you want to look at like how, and just in YMC Mastery, as you're going through it, this is your attract, engage, enroll.
Yeah.
Really work those processes with everything we just talked about. So just how do you want to attract them? How do you want to engage them? How do you want to enroll them? And you just start to create like a smart sheet like I did, or a spreadsheet where you are, everything that you do has a reason. Your mechanic will love this. Like every piece of whether it's a content, a live session, an engagement, an email, a Facebook message, it's happening for a reason. There's a desired result. And so then you
direct them in. Yes. Okay.
You build it very loosely. And you already have, because you already have your first quarter. Like you already know what happens more or less there. Like just keep that, that's working. Okay. And then start to bring in more and more of all your expertise.
Okay.
Right? Like all this other cool stuff that you do on in. Awesome. And then you're always asking yourself, how simple can it be? Your members, you only have to design the next quarter. Because if you let your members help you design it, then
they really are getting what they need. Okay.
Yeah, then they're really getting what they need. And you're not overbuilding it, and you're not over mechanizing it, because you will.
And I'm not killing myself along the way. Yeah.
You're not killing yourself. Yeah. And it doesn't have to, you're aiming for a B-.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. So less is more.
Yes. Okay.
And you just kind of keep, what I find, it's interesting, like a lot of what people actually want is access. They don't want more information.
I was rereading something that I had written down that you said sometime yesterday, and it said that information is no longer like the thing, because you can get information anywhere. It's the connection. It's okay, you're paying attention to me, you're coaching me, you're helping me see it. So you're right. We're selling the connection more than the information even. It's the experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the, me, you see me, you get me.
Yeah. That's
what grounds the nervous system. The other thing, when you think about it, you're building a container.
Yes.
And it's right. And so you're building a container for transformation.
I had a huge aha right before this round of my course started. I called my accountability partner, Colleen Heber, and I said, Colleen, I just figured out that the habit course I'm teaching isn't about the habits. She was like, what?
I love Colleen Heber.
Oh, she's awesome. We're accountability partners for life. We've determined that. But I said the course, I'm teaching them the habits, but it's about like building the container for them to go be who they want to be. It's not about the habits. The habits are just building the container. That was a huge aha. So that was fun.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what your annual pass does. It's a container. It's like the incubation container, right? And so something can happen in here. And from your experience, it's why you're coming back to Mexico. It's like, that if you come, a lot of other stuff is going to happen that won't happen if you don't come.
Absolutely.
And the same thing's true for your members. You and me, we not so different.
Oh, it's so good, Kate.
All right, I got to go talk to Kate O'Donnell.
Oh, yes, please.
Are you all straightened out? Flying right?
I am. Now I just have to go find this recording and rewatch it.
Yeah, exactly. And just start doing it. Just work on attract, engage, get them in. And just a very brief bullet list of you come to Memphis then, these dates are on the calendar, here's your access points, here's this, but it's all based on the results. So what's actually in the annual pass is just a few bullets.
Okay.
But what they experience from doing it is where you put the majority of your work.
I love it.
Goat!
Man.
Okay, I'll see you. Mwah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's Kate Stillman, founder of Yoga Healer and Yoga Health Coaching. And when I look back at the last 18 years of being a wellness entrepreneur, what I can see is that there were certain conversations that made the biggest difference in my ability to rethink my future, to reconnect with the threads of Dharma that could be fostered into much greater things, and to really shape my thoughts and ideas. So conversations are really what influence us to take different actions, whether these conversations happen in our own head, in what we're telling ourselves, or whether these conversations happen with other people who we allow and invite to deeply influence us so that we can evolve more quickly. Because conversations are such an important part of the evolution of a wellness professional into higher levels of abundance and impact, at Yoga Health Coaching, we take them very seriously and we offer them for free. So you can go to yogahealthcoaching.com/conversation, CONVERSATION. That's yogahealthcoaching.com/conversation. And you can get right on our schedule with a yoga healer coach to have a very deep conversation about the vision of your wellness career. This is something we offer for free because we believe so strongly in helping wellness pros help others thrive. We have a ton of free resources and trainings, and what we can do is after a conversation like that, we can point you exactly to the resources that we have that will help you get to where you want to go the most, to help you become who you want to become next in your wellness career. So again, that's yogahealthcoaching.com/conversation. And if we have a way to help you, we'll tell you during those conversations what exactly that is. Awesome. Go ahead and click on that link and schedule and enjoy having someone deeply listen and deeply hear you, help you see your own vision more clearly, and give that experience where you actually shift your thinking so that new thoughts and ideas that are more in line with your Dharma, with your potential, come present now. All right, yogahealthcoaching.com/conversation.